everyone. Welcome to, oh my gosh, day 19. Or are we on day 20? You know what happens? You just keep getting involved and engaging with people, and you just even forget what time it is, right? So, super exciting to be with you here tonight because we're going to talk about a different topic, something when it comes to health. We're going to come at this from a completely different direction. What do you say to the person that's just crushing it, right? That's just really doing a great job. They get their water in, right? They're exercising. They know the importance of a good night's sleep, right? They're paying attention to really aging well, right? They've done what? They've checked all the boxes. And you have to ask that person, how did you get there? And that's ultimately what we end up doing, right? We look at these people, or maybe you're one of these people on the call with me tonight, and you're checking all the boxes. You go, yep, 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 been there, done that, got the t-shirt, that kind of thing. We often will look at those types of people, maybe the people we aspire to be, and we want to know how they did it. We want to say, well, what are you doing today? Like, how often have you been asked, well, what's your regimen? What is your routine? I want to know what supplements you take, Dr. D, right? So you may be in a similar situation where you're getting asked those kinds of questions. And we've touched on this briefly over the last couple and a half weeks, right? Which is the better question is, how did you get started? If you're new to the game, right? When you look at the healthy person, the one that you aspire to be, like I said, we've touched on this. What we want to say rather is, how did you get started, right? Not what did you do today, right? Because they didn't start here. That very healthy person, that very motivated person, that very disciplined person, right? Those are key words. They didn't start healthy. Or if they did, quote unquote, start healthy, right? They never really got sick. They didn't have that kind of a story. What it took to have that moment where they woke up and they said, I've got to do something different, or I'm going to have to, or I really need to up my commitment, or whatever, right? That's actually when they got started. And we want to know what happened that day. And then what was your first step? The reason why I bring this up is because we've got to, once you're healthy, right, you've got to find a way to keep things going. And so we have to either find that new aspirational image, that avatar of who we want to be or what we want out of life. If you're already healthy and you've gone through what would be considered the hard step, right? They always say, it's hard to get started, and you have to remind people that these types of new habits, they are difficult, but what we really want to pay attention to is keeping the momentum. As they say, it's always difficult in the beginning, right? The beginning is difficult. Yep, it's always difficult in the beginning. So if you're an already healthy individual, and like I said, you've checked all the boxes, I want you to go back and visit your other self, right? What was it that made you get started? What was it that inspired you? One, the first step to making change is that you're inspired to do so. The second step in making a change is maintaining momentum. We sometimes refer to this as motivation. What happens with motivation is that you say, what many times we'll apply the why to. And then we start to see people get disciplined, meaning that they do it every day, right? So they're disciplined. They've got, they're meal prepping. They are consuming just the right amount of water. Maybe they measure their food, right? They're running things by a clock, a schedule. No, this is what I do at 1:30. What do you guys do at 1:30? I do planks at 1:30. Legit, true story. An alarm goes off on my computer, right? It goes off on my watch. It goes off on my phone. They all try to tell me, nope, stop what you're doing. We do planks. And sometimes that's what discipline looks like. So if you're already healthy, I want you to go back into what kind of flip that switch for you. And I want you to find new inspiration. I want you to find that new scent of motivation, that hunger for discipline. Because when you have discipline, discipline ultimately turns into habits, and then habits turn into your passion. And that's the thing I want to talk to you about. If you're already healthy, right, then maybe the last 20 days have been great information for you to pass on. Maybe these last 20 days have been a reminder of why you do what you do, but we didn't really move the needle for you. Hopefully, you were able to maintain that inspiration and being somebody else's, living somebody else's dream life, right? Being a part of what someone else wants, and they were able to watch what you've created and say, I want more of what he has, what she has. Definitely, I think you've inspired more people than you probably know. You've probably impacted more people than you probably will ever know. But today we're going to talk to you about how do you find that inspiration again, right? What is that deep dive? And I have found, one of my favorite sayings is that, what a sorrow it is, what a shame it is for a man to grow old without knowing what his body is capable of, right? There are many people that go through life without knowing what their body is capable of from a fitness standpoint, right? Many of us accept aging as a reality. Um, but I'm speaking to the one that's already healthy, right? You might know what your body is capable of, right? You might have even pushed your body to a certain point where you've wondered if you could even get further, right? So now I want to find a way to inspire you to grow other muscles if you don't already grow your brain, right? Seeking knowledge is one of the more impactful ways that we can manifest change for the good. And why is that? Because habits are habits. And ultimately, your neurochemistry, your brain chemistry is laying down patterns. And your chemistry is telling you this is how it's done. This is how we do it. And we're not changing, we're not deviating from this path. And what I'm going to tell you is that it has served you if you are the healthy one, right? It has served you well. Now, give me a break. If you are not the healthy one, like how do I change to another camera? Camera two, right? If you're not the healthy one, if you're still on that journey, you should know that we're laying down those patterns. And what you're doing right now, right? Whether you follow koans like this, you've got just one that you're doing, right? Maybe you found yourself saying, I'm capable of more than one. I'm going to do more than one of these, or I've created my own list. Put in the comments down below if you've created your own list. You don't have to do mine, that's mine, right? But tell me if you've created your own list. What I want you to really hold on to is that you are creating new circuits. You are creating new memory paths, right? You are creating new habits. And that at some point will start to become very easy for you. You will do it without thinking. Like many people in the beginning of their 28 days, right? Ate without thinking. They scrolled through their social media without thinking. They did things that weren't to their benefit without thinking. And we simply put in some anchors to help them establish a better routine. And then we started doing something else, and that becomes easier. Okay, so now I'm back to the individual that's healthy. Well, you've laid down some pretty good circuitry, right? But what's also happened is you've dampened some of the reward center in the brain because you've adapted, right? So this, when we think about how do you get healthier muscle wise, right? How do you grow muscle? How do you grow lean bone mineral density? What do you do to apply load or pressure or stimulation for healthy growth factors, right? And over time, what ends up happening? You end up adapting. You become physically adapted, right? metabolically adapted. And now it takes more stimulus to make a change, to move it, right? I've often heard people talk about this when it comes to fitness as, yeah, maybe for the first year, 2 years, and for some people, 3 years, you have newbie gains, right? That's just new cellular adaptation. That's just new muscular adaptation. That's just new neurologic adaptation. And then at some point, we hit, and we see this a lot in weight loss, we hit a plateau, right? What does that tell us? That we need to apply another stimulus. We need to apply a change. Some people may call this novelty, right? So, what I want you to do if you're already that healthy individual is I want you, that, and maybe the very disciplined individual, I want you to think about how you could apply novelty to your daily regimen, your exercise regimen, trying something new, maybe the same exercise group, but you're going to do it in a different way. Maybe you're just not that calisthenic kind of guy, right? Or kind of gal, right? Maybe what you're going to do is kind of blend some of your workout style with a different workout style. And you're going to see if you come up with your style, your flow, right? Maybe you are that individual, and bring me back to the brain power, right? Maybe you're that individual that's been supplementing on point for quite some time, right? I'm also going to ask you to change things up. I want you to um, add in some novelty. Now, novelty can go both ways when it comes to supplementation, because we do go through metabolic adaptation in this scenario as well. So you may choose to remove one of your supplements or take one of your supplements at a different time of the day. I'm a big fan of individuals taking their antioxidants at different times of the day. And I don't mean random times of the day, I mean morning and evening. Meaning, if you're already taking OPCs, maybe you're doing that in the morning. And we've talked a bit about curcumin, Oxygen Extreme. I want you to be doing that at night. That's a way, as an example, for you to introduce novelty, right? So that you get some of the cellular signaling, this metabolic stimulation, this nutrient stimulation in a different pattern than you're used to. Not just in the morning where things go like this throughout the day, but that you get a little bit of something different when it comes to nutrient signaling. This may be one of the ways that we help you sleep better. It's very common. Someone may say that they're sleeping fine, but they'd like to sleep better, right? Maybe they listened a little bit to what I said last night about one of the more important reasons why you'll get a good night's sleep is for healthy brain aging in the future. So maybe that's where the already healthy person wants to think about dialing some things in because they never looked at sleep that way. In fact, part of their discipline has been to get up early, but also their work discipline has been to go to bed late. So they've thought they've been healthy, right? They've thought they've been checking all the boxes. At the end of the day, you're probably checking boxes like a rock star. But what I want you to consider doing is adding in some novelty. How do you decide the novelty? Well, we've talked about maybe changing up your flow with exercise. We've talked about changing up a supplement regimen, adding something in while taking something else out, changing the time of day that you're going to do something. But my favorite way to add novelty, my favorite way to take your body, your brain, your metabolism to a whole nother level is to ask you to learn something new. Something outside, it can be something outside of your wheelhouse, right? That's why I have 20 pages of nonfiction up there each day. And I don't want it to be in my wheelhouse. I don't want it to be something that I'm going to use tomorrow for work, for this lecture, or for the lectures I'm doing over the weekend, right? I want it to be something completely unique, something I didn't know, right? Something that a book I wouldn't normally pick up, maybe. History is a great way to do this. Learn something new about a time in history, right? Look back at, you pick the topic. These are some ways that you can do this. Or if you say, nope, I really want to stay within that wheelhouse, that health and nutrition wheelhouse, maybe that's the way you're going to help clients, you're going to help your community, fantastic. You're going to see benefit from that too, because um, you're going to learn something new, and you're literally going to say, I had no idea. I didn't know that. And it's going to be like, it's going to just change everything. Actually, this is funny. This happened to me recently. I did this, right? Mind blown. And it reminded me of something I'd put on Facebook recently in a health provider group, where that's all I said. I put a gif of somebody doing this. It's like mind blown, right? And the reason why I did that is because I had just listened to a podcast on the endocannabinoid system in the body. This is something that I had not developed a lot of um, knowledge about, the endocannabinoid system. I knew that it existed, um, but had not put a lot of weight, not necessarily behind the endocannabinoid system, just a lot of weight in learning. I spent a lot of time learning fertility procedures and hormones and things like that. So, fitness and but so this was fascinating. What I learned is that full spectrum hemp oil is 10 times more powerful than a CBD isolate. And that is, the literature continues to show, when you give all of the phytocannabinoids that are found naturally in the full hemp oil, full spectrum hemp oil. So now we're not even talking about broad spectrum, right? Because in broad spectrum, they've gone through a distillation process that removes the THC entirely, instead of having that legal very, very small amount of 0.03% THC that can still be in the full spectrum hemp oil, or from the hemp plant, because that type of processing is a cold, so it's temperature controlled. It's an ethanol extract. It can be an ethanol extraction, but in the case of very high, well, no, I guess that's not true, because in the case of high quality supplements, you still can use alcohol extraction. But one of the ways that they have found to maximize is CO2 extraction. So, so depending on that, but because they're not using solvents, because they're not trying to distill one part out and leave the rest, it's the entire hemp plant, that full spectrum oil, all of those phytocannabinoids. Well, what clinical studies show, whether we're talking about ocular health, we're talking about brain health, we're talking about pain management, is that the difference between full spectrum CBD, which is always less than what you see in these isolates, what I found out last night is the reason, or yesterday, the reason why is because full spectrum hemp oil is considerably stronger than CBD alone in clinical studies. So that's why you'll often see a big difference in dosages. You'll see that full spectrum hemp oils are, characteristically much smaller amounts of milligram doses of some of these CBD, CBG, and CBN cannabinoids, and the isolates are always very, very high, like 50, 75, 100, 250. And this is the reason why. Without the synergy of all of the other components in the plant, it's just not as powerful. To get a lift, right, you need a lot of it versus a lot of actors, right? That kind of leveraged hemp oil. So that was like that mind blown thing. And now what does that do? What does that create for me? It creates excitement. It creates novelty in my day. It creates something new that I'm going to pass on to someone else. And it may change my supplement regimen. It may make a difference in the way I supplement. It's definitely going to make a difference in the way that I recommend supplementation or lifestyle factors, or a change for someone, right? So I want you to think, if you are already healthy, what I want you to understand is that there is still something for you to learn. There is still something for you to get excited about. There is still something out there that's going to allow you to take your body, your metabolism, your regimen, your brain to a whole nother level. And one of the ways that you can find that is get interested in a topic. Learn all that you can about that topic. It's going to make you interesting on Zoom parties. It's going to make you interesting to your family and your neighbors, right? Because what are you going to do? You're going to share that knowledge and you're going to, it becomes infectious. You know, one of the things that I want us to understand is that those memory circuits that we lay down, those new habits that we build, that new information that we get, it's infectious, right? We end up sharing those types of things with other people and we truly manifest change in their lives. And many of them don't know when that's going to light up for them. We often say we don't know when you're going to get that spark, right? When you're going to have that aha moment, that thing that goes, yes, I'm doing that. You also don't know when you're going to be that for someone, right? So start by being that for yourself. Spread that to your community. And that is ultimately how you continue to build down or to lay down or build out these incredible memory circuits, right? What started as bad habits for so many is because they laid down memory circuits. And reward centers in the brain said, do that again, right? With bad eating. Well, what if we could flip the script and we could create those same memory circuits? We could lay down those same reward center habits, those same do it again, right? With exercise, with a new recipe, right? And with new knowledge. And then we share that with someone else. And what did you do? You just helped them lay down new memory circuits. Probably if you feel like you've stagnated in your health or that you've checked all the boxes, you feel like this is as good as it gets, it's because you haven't introduced novelty. It's because you haven't introduced new information, right? Or you haven't found yourself spreading that kind of information to other people and seeing how it changes their life. You guys, until I get to see you tomorrow night, it's going to be a crazy night as it's a big training evening. You're going to see me tomorrow night, and then I'm going to pop off and I'm going to be visiting our friends through other trainings this weekend. So I hope if I miss you tomorrow night that I get to see you sometime this weekend. Of course, always you can catch me here on MA Healthy Living at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're doing this all month until I get to see you again. Go be healthy. Go be brilliant.